when I was speaking to this professor of religion named Diana Pasulka, she was saying, Kurt, don't worry that half of the world thinks I am God and so on, because you don't know what they mean by that. I don't have I have an idea of what they mean. Could be misinterpreting what they mean. They could be wrong at the same time. Millions and billions of people have been wrong. All of these practices, meditation and psychedelics, they're meant to be done with the community. And all these insights, she said she would imagine if you went to some leader and you told them this insight, they'd be like, "Oh no, no, no! Like that's completely wrong. Like you are not God. Like you are an aspect of God, or whatever it may be." And then she also said the Plato's cave journey is what's happening, or the dark night of the soul. She used that phrase. She said the actual full story of that, where you think this is reality, the wall, you come out, you feel like that's an illusion. Then the end of the story is to somehow realize that what you thought was real in the beginning is indeed real. It's just real in another manner, like somehow more real. And then I remember something, Bernardo, that you said. Look at this. This we think of as solid. We feel it. There's solidity to it. Yet we look at it through a microscope and we say, yeah, the atoms are far apart. This solidity is an illusion. That's if you take materialism as primary. What if you take your conscious experience? No, no, this is solid. This actually is solid. There's something real about that. There's something real about this table. There's something real about me inhabiting this world. I can go through this process where I feel like, oh, that's all an illusion. But then there's this quote about T.S. Eliot that the point of the journey is to come back where you started and know the place for the first time. I feel like that I'm slowly starting, where I feel the reality of this more. I feel it. But then there's a nagging part of me that's like, yeah, you're tricking yourself, Kurt. You're tricking yourself.
We let our theories hijack the reality of our experiences. And that's a tragedy. Experiences are not nothing. They're the only thing that is really real. That's not just abstraction. So it doesn't matter that there are atoms here, and then the distance between the electron orbitals and the nucleus is enormous relative to the diameter of the particles themselves. Yeah, it's all true, but you experience this, you hold this, it has weight, it has texture, it feels moist, and it satiates my thirst. This is all real stuff. Now, a conceptual understanding, a conceptual narrative behind that may be true or not, but it doesn't take away from the experience. Whatever this is, it is an experience, and it is real as such. The problem is that we are in a society which implicitly tells us experiences in themselves are nothing. It's the thing that lies behind the experience that counts. That's absolutely nonsensical. All we have is experience. The narrative behind it can help us develop a certain understanding, but not by robbing us of the immediacy of experience, which ultimately is all we have. We can add understanding to that, but that understanding is a layer on top of the immediacy of experience. And look, the ego exists. It's a tool. Without it, I wouldn't know to which mouth to bring the fork. So there is something there that we call the ego. Now, is it your subjectivity in and of itself or not? That's a valid question. I would answer that the ego is not your subjectivity. It's a certain configuration of experiences or a narrative within your subjectivity. And yes, idealism ultimately is a form of cosmic solipsism. And you can dip your toes in those waters and you recoil from it. I call it the vertigo of eternity. It's a place that is very hard to visit, very hard to confront, which may be a clue to why we are here, in this form. But maturing has always to do with poking you out of your comfort zone and buffeting you a little. And you just have to hold the boat together so we can continue to navigate and not sink. But I don't think there is anything intrinsically bad about the fact that the waters are trying. It's trying stuff. And that's how we progress. I mean, I'm not a prophet. I'm not going to predict your future, and you come from a different place than me. Your life has a different context. What holds to me may not hold to you, likely doesn't hold to you. But Now I'm going to do exactly what I said I wouldn't do, which is make a prediction.
Sure.
So forgive me for that.
Okay.
But there will come a moment when you realize that your problems will dissipate, not because you answered your questions, but because you no longer feel the need to ask them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Okay, so Chris, whatever thoughts come to you, and then we can move on to another couple questions. I'm sorry to go on this aside.
Well, you were just communicating with your own highest level of identity. So, okay, that's basically God. And the reason you are able to communicate with God is that you are an aspect of God, right? God is reality. He's the ultimate reality. It almost has to be that way. Otherwise, it makes no sense to call something God. Okay, you are a part of God, and you are a stratum of God's identity. It's as simple as that. And you give rise to things. Your experiences, they are identities. Your experience is not something that can't, it's one unary, coherent thing, and yet it can be teased apart into this idea of form and substance. Okay? It's basically an experience is an interface. It's an interface between you and reality. It's you accepting input from the outside world or internal input from yourself. Okay, and transducing it and then turning that into a thought or into behavior. Okay, this is what it is. This is what it's doing for you. So your experiences, even your purely mental experiences, are of utmost value to you. They are identities that are a part of your identity, and you are a part of a greater identity. Okay, so you've got this continuum of identities. All right, and it's a nested. It's kind of it's Russian dolls, or it's Matryoshka, or Matryoshka dolls. I forget. Anyway, basically, it's one thing nested within another. You've got a highest level of identity. Your identity is nested in it, and your experiences are nested in you. They're all identities. Okay, putting all of those things together is what it seems to me that you're doing. A very, very valuable thing. So I would say, keep up the good work.
Well, hey man, it's like any compliment from you is it's an honor. So let's just end this with what you all value. What do you value most, Chris?
What do I value most?
Mm-hmm.
God. What's the identity of reality? And of course, supporting and aiding the fulfillment of reality. I believe that reality actually has a goal, a teleological purpose that it is determined by its structure. Basically, it's built into what it is, and that it is my job to help reality fulfill that its goals, its teleological impetus, which derives from its structure. Because I'm a part of it, and it's my own highest level of identity, and it's my job to help it just as it helps me. Okay, I'm carried within it, I exist within it, so I'm going to return the favor. I'm going to try to reinforce it as much as I can. That's what's valuable to me. And then, of course, we have all of the things that are valuable to everybody. The idea of love. I mean, I have a wife, I have a home, I have pets, I have dogs that love me. The taste of a good meal, or a good drink, right? Having fun with your friends, right? Going out and enjoying nature. All of those things are valuable to me. But the one basic imperative that I feel is to integrate with reality perfectly, help reality reinforce itself, right? Because that's all there is. There is nothing outside of that. You try to extricate yourself from reality, like the Buddhists are trying to do, and you end up in nirvana, and you're nothing. Your identity has at that point fused with that of the entire universe, and you no longer have an individual identity at all. Your identity is a self-distributed thing that covers everything, and you have lost your identity as you know. Okay, you're here and you feel your individual identity, and that's very, very important. Okay, your job, the job of your identity is not only to enjoy life, as you were put here to do, but also to help life and to help reality reinforce itself. Right? That's what I consider value.
Bernardo.
The answer I will give you is not the answer I would like to give you. I would like to tell you I value love the most, relationships the most, human decency and justice. Nietzsche struggled with this question And he answered, power. Power is what he considered the most important, the will to power, in contrast to Freud's will to pleasure. But the truth is, and part of maturing is accepting your own truths, and the truths about yourself, even when you don't like it. The truth is that for me, the most important thing is truth, and that I would probably surrender everything else to stare the truth in the face, whatever the price, whatever the cost. That for me is the highest calling. It's how I'm put together. It's not how I wish I was put together. To prioritize truth above all else is not trivial. Yeah, again, Nietzsche, he was very explicit about that. He said, "Why do we want to know the truth? What's the point?" He thought it was ridiculous. It was a knee-jerk reflex that if we thought it through, we would abandon. It's not about what is true. And I've meditated on that for years. I went to the extreme of visiting the places where Nietzsche had those thoughts, which, thank goodness, are recorded. We know where he was. And I probably stood within a meter of where he stood. But at the end of all that struggle, it's the truth that shines through. And the truth is my highest commitment, is the truth. That's how I am. I hate it in a sense, but that's how I am.
Thank you all so much for coming out. Thank you all. This was, well, enlightening in many ways.
Okay, I would just once again repeat after that inspiring comment by Bernardo that truth and reality are basically two ways of looking at the same thing. When you say that's real or something is real, you are saying that it is true. Okay, and when you say that something is true, you're saying that it's real. So in dedicating yourself to truth, you also dedicate yourself to reality. And both of our comments, both what both of us said, combined in this one truth. It's one real truth. The same thing.